Hello everyone. Today we will discuss the first phase of Indian national movement. First phase of Indian national movement. Now from the chapter we can understand that this national movement means the movement which Indians started to get the freedom from Britishers. So first phase. So we have this national movement in different phases. So here in this chapter we are going to learn about the first phase. Okay. So the history of this Indian national movement can be broadly divided into three phases. So this national movement we divide in three phases. First is early nationalist phase. It is from 1885 to 1907. The period for this phase is from 1885 to 1907. Second is assertive phase. That is from 1907 to 1916. And third is Gandhian era. That is from 1915 to 1947. So here we will see this early nationalist phase. So let us discuss this early nationalist. In its initial year, the Congress was led by group of leaders known as early nationalist. So in the initial phase, when the Congress started, it was led by a group of leaders. Them we known as they are early nationalist. The member of this group were drawn from the educated middle class, consisting of professionals like lawyers, barristers, teachers, and officials who drew inspiration from Western thought. So, these early nationalists, who are they? So, they are from middle class families, they are educated, and they belong to different like professions like lawyer, barristers, teachers, etc. And they drew their inspiration from the Western thoughts only. Many of them were educated in England and felt that the British intended to be just to Indians, but they were unaware of the true state of affairs in India. So, out of these educated people, many of them have got their education in England. And what they think that these Britishers, okay, they want to be in India, they want to be Indian, but they don't know the state of affairs in India. Now let us discuss some of the leaders at that time. Some of the leaders we can say that from the early nationalist. So the early nationalist include leader from all part of the country, like W.C. Banerjee, Ras Bihari Ghosh, Surendranath Banerjee, and R.C. Dutt from Bengal. So these are the members of nationalist who are from Bengal. Then we have Dadabhai Naroji, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Firoz Shah Mehta, and Justice Ranade. They are from Maharashtra and Gujarat. We have P.R. Naidu, Subramanya Iyer, and Anand Charlu from Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. We have Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya from Uttar Pradesh, and liberal Englishmen like Hume and Wedderburn. So here we can see that in the early nationalist, okay, early nationalist party, or we can say that Congress party, which include early nationalist, it include people from different part of the India. Also it include a few Englishmen also. The early nationalist leader who led the Congress and national movement in its initial year were staunch believer in the open-minded and moderate policy. They believed in loyalty to the British crown. So these initial nationalists, they are loyal to the British crown. B.C. Pal, an early nationalist leader, said in 1887 that I am loyal to the British government because with me loyalty to the British government is identical with the loyalty to my own people and my own country. So that time the people who are there in the nationalist movement, they are also supporter of Britishers. they are supporter of Britishers. And here we can understand from the words of BC Pal. What he said that ki, I am loyal to the British government because with me loyalty to the British government is identical with the loyalty to my own people and my own country. So what their thought is that Britishers are good for Indians, and you are loyal to the Britishers, that means you are loyal to your own country. They wanted the Indians should have their proper and legitimate share in the government. So here what their idea is that there should be proper representations of Indians in the government. So that time what they are seeing, that the government is represented by Britishers only. There is very less representation of Indians. So their thought is that the representation of Indians should increase, and this is how the Indians should progress under the umbrella of British rule. They asked for constitutional and other reforms within the framework of the British rule, as they had faith in the British sense of justice and fair play. So their idea was that they want constitutional and other reforms. In their mind, they know that the constitution that time which was there in India, it is not correct. There should be some reform, but they wanted those reforms by Britishers only. They have full faith in Britishers. They have full faith in the sense of justice and fair play. So they think that Britishers, they are fair with everyone. They believe that continuation continuation of the British connections with India was in the interest of both England and India. So their thinking was that if Britishers are there in India, or there is a connection between Britishers and India, then it will be benefiting to both the countries. It is benefiting to England as well as it will benefit India. They concerned themselves with the demand for reform. Their demand were moderate in nature. So their concern was that there should be some reform, okay, something which they find that is not correct. So they wanted them to be correct. They wanted some reforms, and their demand are also moderate in nature. Moderate in nature means what? Their demand is not something which like a Britishers will never allow to happen. Okay, so their demands are moderate. If the demands are moderate, then there is more chances of accepting those demands, right? Now let us quickly understand the beliefs of the early nationalist. The early nationalists have faith in sense of justice, fair play, honesty, and integrity of the British. So the early nationalists, they have full faith in Britishers. Okay, from this we understand they have full faith in Britishers. Their thought is that they are honest people. They do proper justice with everyone. It was their hope that the British would grant home rule to Indians. Also, they they expect that the Britishers, they will grant home rule. That means they will allow Indians to rule Indians. They relied on solemn pledge made by the British government. They believed that the British rule had many benefits. For example, it aided in cleansing social ills like sati, untouchability, and child marriage. So they thought, or it is their belief, that British rule have some advantage, have some benefit in India. How? In their rule only some social ills, okay, they are abolished, like sati, we know sati pratha, untouchability, and child marriage. So these are there in India, but after Britishers, they start avoiding, means they start curtailing these beliefs in the Indian system. So these ills, we can say that cleaning of these ills is done by Britishers. So they have full belief in Britishers, and they feel that this is helpful for India. They were of the opinion that Britain would help Indians govern themselves according to the Western standards. Now, again, as most of them they learn from Britain, okay, so their thought was that Britain would help Indians to govern. Okay, it will help Indians to govern by themselves according to Western standards. So how in Britain the people are governed by Britishers. Okay, same way here our early nationalists, they think that here also the Britain will allow Indian to govern themselves. They said that the main obstacle in India's progress was social and economic backwardness of Indians and not the British colonial rule. So according to them, okay, Britishers, they are not the problem. Okay, the main problem for Indians is our own social and economic backwardness. We are backward, means they get their education from Britain, from England, and when they compare the social and um, economic way of living in India, they find that we are backward. They relied on constitutional and peaceful method to achieve their aim. They believe in patience and reconciliations rather than violence and confrontations. So their belief, yes, they also want that India should be ruled by Indians, but they want to achieve it peacefully. So this is about the beliefs of early nationalists. What is their belief? What they think about British rule? Now we understood that these early nationalists, they have full faith in Britishers, but they want India to be free. They want that Indians to be ruled by Indians. So let us see how they wanted to achieve it. Their demand or the demands of the early nationalist. The demand of the early nationalist may be studied under the following heads. So we will understand their demand in different heads. First, constitutional reform. So what is their demand as far as constitution is concerned? The early nationalists wanted a larger share in the government of their country, right? So as we see that in India, it was run by Britishers, but here now early nationalist, they wanted that there should be a larger share, means there should be a larger representation of Indians in this government. They believe that eventually India should move towards democratic self government. However, they did not ask for immediate achievement of their goal as they feared that the government would suppress their activities. Now, here we understand that their idea is also that India should move towards a democratic self government. Democratic self government means here the people will choose who will rule them, right? But they also know that if they straightforward demand this, then their demand will be suppressed by British government. Okay, so then they used a soft approach. Okay, they therefore aimed at winning freedom through the gradual process. So their idea was that slowly we will achieve the freedom. So they made the following demand. So slowly if we demand one things, then finally we can get everything. This was their idea. So their initial demand were abolition of India Council. Second is expansion of legislative council and legislative assemblies both at the center and at the provinces. So their second demand was that legislative council and legislative assemblies should be expanded. Third demand is increase in the membership of Indians by including some members elected by local bodies like Chamber of Commerce, universities, etc. In these councils and by giving greater power to them. So their third demand was that membership should be increased, number of members should increase, and some membership should be chosen by the local bodies, like they should be chosen by Chamber of Commerce, by universities. So the whole idea is that more and more Indians should be chosen. They demanded Indian control over the public purse and raised the slogan no taxation without representation. So their next demand was that there should be control of Indians on the Indian purse, means on the Indian money there should be control of Indians, and if government will not give proper representation to the Indians, then people will not pay the tax. By the beginning of 20th century, they made the demand for Swaraj or the self-government within the British Empire like the self-governing colonies of Canada and Australia. So at that time, how the Canada and Australia are working, how they are ruled by their own people. In the same way, here, this our early nationalists they demanded for Purna Swaraj, that is self-governance. Adequate representation of Indians in the Executive Council of Viceroy and those of governors. Adequate representation of Indians in the Executive Council. So their next demand was that in Executive Council of Viceroy and that of governors, there should be adequate representation of Indians. So these are all demand of early nationalists as far as constitutional reforms are concerned. Now their next set of reforms are economic reforms. The economic issues raised by early nationalists include reduction in land revenue and protection of peasant against unjust demand of the zamindar. So their first what we can say the demand for economic reform is that there should be reduction in land revenue. We know that during British time they are taking too much revenue from land, okay, and because of this what we can say that villagers or you can say that farmers, okay, they are in a very bad condition. Economically they are in very poor condition. So they demanded reduction in land revenue as well as there was like too much exploitation by zamindars. They are exploiting peasants. So there was a demand for protection of peasant against the unjust demand of zamindars. Second demand is reduction in expenditure on army and the money thus saved to be spent on the welfare activities such as health and education. So their next demand was that expenditure of army should be reduced. Too much money was spent on army. Their next demand was that there should be reduction in expenditure of army and whatever money is saved from there, it should be utilized for different social activities, like it should be utilized for health and education. An inquiry into India's growing poverty and famine. Their next demand was that there should be an inquiry why the Indians are becoming poor day by day. So what is the reason of growing poverty and famine? Next demand was availability of cheap credit to the peasant through agricultural banks. Their next demand was that the peasant should be given cheap credit. Cheap credit means that they should be given credit, they should be given loan at less rate of interest, so that there should not be much burden to repay the money. Next demand was development of banking, irrigation, medical and health facilities for the people. Industrial growth through trade protection. That means that a heavy tax should be imposed on imported goods and government should give loan for the development of iron, coal, paper and sugar industries in India. Their next demand was that there should be a heavy tax on imported goods. So when you apply a heavy tax, when you impose a heavy tax on imported goods, then the imported item will become expensive and this will give a chance to your local market to flourish. Okay, so their next demand was that imported goods should be taxed heavily and at the same time loans should be provided to local companies, local iron, coal, paper and sugar companies or industries. And there should be total abolition of salt tax and the duty on sugar. Duty on sugar means it is again a tax on sugar. So their next demand was that there should be a total abolition on salt tax and duty on sugar should be reduced. Now next category of demand is administrative demand. The early nationalists made the following demand in the administrative sphere. Demand for Indianization of services through simultaneous Indian civil service examination in England and India. Now if you wanted to work in Indian service, Indian administrative service, then there is an exam called Indian Civil Service exam that you have to clear. Now initially it was happening in England and therefore many of the Indians are not getting chance to participate in these exams. So there is a demand that this exam should be conducted both in England as well as in India simultaneously. Second demand was complete separation of executive and judiciary power. They made this demand to protect the Indians from arbitrary act of police and bureaucracy. So they wanted this executive and judiciary power should be separate, so that there is no injustice with the Indians. Okay, otherwise these police and bureaucrats, okay, they do unjust behavior with the Indians. Their third demand was increase in power of local bodies and reduction of the official control over them. So their third demand was that local bodies like local municipalities should be given more power, and there should be less control on them. Their fourth demand was repeal of Arms Act and License Act. So this Arms Act and License Act, again it was an unjust act, unjust law. So these early nationalists, they demanded to repeal this law. They demanded to abolish these laws. Wider employment of Indians in the higher grade of administrative services. Next demand was that there should be wider employment. Wider employment means more employment in Indians in the higher grades of administrative services. Next demand was spread of primary education among the masses. So masses means people at large. Okay, they should be provided with primary education. And their seventh demand was improvement of police system to make it honest, efficient and popular. So police system should be improved so that they are honest, efficient and more popular. Next category of demand is defense of civil rights. The early nationalists defended civil right whenever the British government tries to curtail them. So whenever British government tries to curtail the rights, civil rights, then these nationalists, okay, they defended it. In fact, it was because of the political work done by the early nationalists that democratic ideas began to take root among the Indians. The early nationalists demanded the following civil right. The rights like removal of restrictions imposed by the British government on the freedom of speech and the freedom of press. So removal of restrictions imposed, some government has put so many restrictions on freedom of speech. You cannot say against Britishers, and there are restrictions on the press also. They cannot print something which is against the Britishers. So these nationalists, they demanded to remove these restrictions. Second, abolition of Preventive Detention Act and restoration of individual liberty. Third, restoration of right to assemble and to form association. Restoration of right to assemble and to form association. So there was restriction to assemble at one place, there is restrictions to form associations. So these early nationalists, they ask for restoration of the right to assemble and to form associations. The early nationalists were practical. They wanted to win freedom by gradual process. They did not aim at higher demand because they wanted to work on the lines of least resistance. Besides, they did not wanted to arouse serious oppositions. So if you see these early nationalists, they are very practical. Okay, they know that slowly, gradually, they can get their country back. They can set their country free. Okay, so their aim was not to high demand, because if they do that, then they will be like suppressed by the British government. So they want to achieve their target of freedom, okay, slowly, gradually, with peace. So in this class, what we learn or what we understand about what who are the persons who are involved in this early nationalist movement. and what are their demanded. What are their demands? In the next class, we will see that how they achieve their demands or what is the method of working, and we will also see about some of the nationalist in detail. Thank you.